She used to roll her eyes when you called. Now she quietly checks your profile, hoping for a sign that you're still hurting. But you've gone silent. Not out of sadness, but out of transformation. You didn't disappear into darkness. You disappeared into growth. And that silence, that evolution, that's what stings the most, because now she's realizing you're not trying to win her back. You're becoming someone she'll never reach again. You've been blamed for feeling too deeply, told to man up while you were being torn down. You've carried the weight of silence like it was your fault. But that ends now, because I built something for men like you. It's not just a book, it's a blueprint. A guide forged from over 2,000 years of timeless Stoic wisdom, the Stoic relationship blueprint. If you're ready to rebuild yourself from the ground up and become untouchable, click the link in the comments. Once it's gone, it's gone. Comment, claim my power, if you're ready to take back control. Men today aren't suffering because they're weak. They're suffering because they were taught to serve where they weren't respected. To love those who barely tolerated them, to fix what someone else kept breaking. They'll tell you she moved on fast. But what they won't say is this: the moment you stop chasing her approval is the moment she starts chasing yours. Let's talk about what hurts a woman the most when she no longer values you, and how you become the man who changes everything. Number 1, stop seeking her attention. She's used to being chased. Used to men reacting to her every post, every glance, every story, like it holds some secret message. But when you pull back, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, you become something she never expected. A man who doesn't need her validation to feel whole. You stop refreshing your inbox at midnight. Now you wake up at 5 a.m., building your brand, training your body, sharpening your mind. She's still scrolling, chasing likes, chasing digital echoes, but you've transcended that. You no longer need a digital reaction to feel real. And that shift, she feels it. Not when you block her, not when you unfollow, but when your energy becomes unreachable. When her tests no longer move you. Attention was her playground, but now the gates are locked. And you're no longer the background character in her story. You're building your own world, and she's not even in it. This is the transformation every man must face, not to hurt her, but to free himself. So if you find yourself checking to see if she viewed your story, stop and ask, how many books have I read this week? How many new skills have I learned? How much of my future have I traded for a glance from someone who never truly saw me? Let the answer wake you up. Number 2, prioritize growth over apologies. She may try to guilt you for changing, accuse you of being selfish for setting boundaries, make you feel wrong for choosing yourself. But remember this: your evolution will always disturb those who profited from your stagnation. When you start eating cleaner, training harder, reading more, and explaining less, you'll notice something. The ones who once cheered your presence may begin to resent your progress. That's not your burden to carry. Growth is not arrogance, it's alignment. And the man who dims his light to comfort others will always live in shadows. So if she ever says you've changed, wear that as a badge of honor, because yes, you've changed. You've leveled up. You've stopped chasing people who never saw your value, and now you're becoming the man you were meant to be. Understand this: it was never about change. It was always about control, because she knew that a man who needed her was a man she could predict, a man who was safe, soft, dependent. And the day you started tracking your macros, protecting your time, reading for mastery, and building your legacy without asking for permission, that man disappeared. What hurts her now isn't that you left. It's that you expanded, that you dress like, you respect yourself, that you walk like a man with somewhere to be, that you speak with purpose and live with a mission that's too sacred to be compromised. Every man must stop apologizing for living on purpose, for growing beyond her comfort zone, for turning "I'll fix this" into "this no longer fits." Because the greatest betrayal is not losing her, It's losing yourself just to keep her happy. So ask yourself, how many goals have I buried just to stay liked? How many dreams have I delayed for temporary affection? How often have I apologized just for wanting more out of life? And if the answers sting, let this be the last time you explain your growth to someone who only loved you when you were struggling. Because when you prioritize evolution, everything that wasn't real will fall away. And that's not your loss, that's your liberation. And if she ever tries to come back, remind yourself, the man she once knew no longer exists, and the man you are now, he bows to no one. Number 3, embrace discomfort. The path to becoming who you're meant to be doesn't live in ease, in comfort, or in waiting for someone to finally see your value. It begins when you stop negotiating with pain and start using it as your teacher. Because comfort has never built strength, never sharpened discipline, never created legends. Every man who chose the easy way over the right way paid for it with his potential. That discomfort you've been avoiding, the early mornings, the silent nights, the cold rejections, the weekends grinding while no one's watching, that's the process. That's the path to becoming unshakable. The world tells you to follow your feelings, but a wiser voice says this: feelings are visitors. Purpose is the foundation. So ask yourself, when was the last time you did something difficult? Not because you felt like it, but because it was necessary. When was the last time you pushed through fatigue, temptation, or doubt just to prove to yourself that you're still in charge? Because without discomfort, there is no transformation. The men who live the lives you admire, they're not lucky. They're built in silence, in sacrifice, in days of doing what others refuse to, in nights of discipline so sharp it makes average people uncomfortable. And every time you avoid the hard path, you choose to remain ordinary. So stop running from resistance. Run toward it. Take the cold shower. Finish the set when your body says, no, put down the screen and pick up a book. Train your mind like it matters, because it does. And over time, you change. Your brain rewires, your identity shifts, and you stop being the man who avoids pain. You become the man who uses it. Because when you stop fearing discomfort and start following it like a compass, you unlock a strength most never touch. The pain becomes purpose. The resistance becomes your signal, and what used to break you becomes your warm-up. This shift isn't for everyone, but it's for the man who refuses to die average, because real growth is a contract with discomfort, and every single day you avoid the challenge is a day you delay the man you were born to be. Number 4, turn rejection into redirection. The moment she walked away, chose someone else, or looked through you like you never mattered, that wasn't your end. That was your assignment. Because rejection isn't an insult. It's information. It's life removing a distraction from your higher path. While most men break under the weight of abandonment, the wise ones don't chase. They don't spiral. They study the pain. They use it like a map, pointing toward every part of themselves they've ignored. Instead of asking why she left, ask what you can now build in the space she left behind. Who can you become now that you're no longer shrinking to fit inside someone else's comfort? Because the men who rise fastest from rejection are the ones who understand. It's not a verdict, it's a mirror. And when she said you weren't enough, don't argue. Become so great you'd never even look back. Not out of spite, but out of transformation. Use that energy, that ache, that confusion as fuel. Let your heartbreak become obsession with your potential. Let your pain become precision. Build something so real, so focused, so refined, that her absence becomes the very reason you found your edge. Because when you're rejected, it's not always about you. Sometimes people walk away not because you weren't worthy, but because they couldn't handle the man you're becoming. And rejection, when understood, it's pressure, the kind that forges diamonds. Let it sculpt you. Let it remove the fantasy. Let it sharpen the facts. If she couldn't see you, it's not your job to make her see now. It's your mission to become a man so whole, so complete, that no one, not her, not anyone, gets to define your worth again. Because when you turn rejection into progress, you don't just move on from her. You evolve past the version of you who needed her. Every rejection is an invitation, not to win her back, but to get yourself back. And when you rebuild yourself on purpose, not on approval, on truth, not on fantasy, you'll realize the best thing she ever did was leave. Number 5, let results speak louder than words. You don't have to tell her you've changed. You don't need to post about your glow-up, because men who truly transform never seek applause. They understand this. Evidence destroys doubt better than words ever could. So when she tries to come back, not because she loves you, but because she's confused by how calm, grounded, and untouchable you've become, your lifestyle becomes your only reply. Because results can't be faked. They reveal the space between who you were and who you chose to become. If you're still trying to prove something to her, you haven't yet built enough. Proof is not in a caption, not in filtered photos or passive-aggressive quotes. It's in the consistency of your daily discipline. It's in how your bank account mirrors your focus. It's in the way you walk into a room, not because you're jacked, but because your body tells the story of pain repurposed into perseverance. And when she hears you're doing well, sees your network growing, learns that you're now admired by women who see your depth and not just your appearance, and realizes that you no longer respond. That sting, that silence, that's the echo of a man who outgrew her orbit, and you didn't have to announce it. You didn't need to explain, because your new standard speaks for itself, and she simply doesn't qualify anymore. And if you still hope she notices, you have more work to do. Because true growth doesn't flinch when the past calls. It doesn't need to be noticed. It just builds, silently, relentlessly. Because the most dangerous man, he doesn't argue, he doesn't prove, he doesn't post, he executes. He builds until his very existence becomes a quiet revolution, proof that transformation doesn't shout, it stands. And the Stoic man doesn't need to be seen, he just needs to be aligned with virtue, with vision, with discipline. And in that alignment, he becomes undeniable, not by force, but by foundation. Number 6, stop chasing closure. You keep hoping she'll explain, that she'll give you a reason, a final talk, an apology wrapped in understanding to make sense of why she left, why she ghosted you, why she switched up after saying she loved you. You think that if she just said the truth, you'd finally be able to move on. But the truth is, you wouldn't, because what you're chasing isn't clarity, it's connection. And every time you ask, why, what you're really saying is, please come back. But closure, it's not something she gives. It's something you create. Even if she told you it was her fault, even if she cried in front of you and admitted she never meant to hurt you, it wouldn't heal the wound. It would just reopen the story and let her rewrite the ending on her terms. You have to reclaim the pen. And the way you do that isn't through confrontation, it's through detachment. You don't need a dramatic goodbye. You need quiet rebuilding. You don't need more questions. You need discipline to stop asking questions that no longer deserve answers. The answer already happened. She left. And the lesson was in her leaving, not in her explanation. The longer you seek reasons, the more you delay your evolution. Because a Stoic man understands, life doesn't always give closure. It gives pain without permission. It gives endings without warning. And peace is not found in fairness. It's found in adaptation. So stop checking if she saw your message. Stop writing closure letters you'll never send. Stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen, and start facing the only truth that matters. Her absence is your assignment. And the closure you've been chasing is the discipline to no longer need it. When you finally stop chasing the ghost of a conversation that will never come, you free your mind to build a life that no longer needs her validation to stand, because the door she closed was never meant to be reopened. It was meant to show you that healing is not asking her to fix what she broke. It's becoming so whole that her exit no longer echoes. Number 7, give her nothing to reject. The moment you realize that offering yourself to someone who constantly questioned your worth is the deepest form of self-abandonment, that's the moment you change everything, because the man who becomes unshakable is the one who finally decides, I will no longer show up to be misunderstood. Every message you send to check in, every story you post to get her attention, every subtle move to test if she still cares, is not only beneath your mission, it gives her another opportunity to discard you again. And no woman respects a man who keeps handing her the blade and asking her to cut him slower. So if you truly want to shift the dynamic, not to manipulate but to evolve, you must give her nothing she can twist, nothing she can devalue, nothing she can label, because presence without purpose becomes her playground, but absence backed by elevation becomes your fortress. This isn't ghosting, this isn't playing games, this is stepping out of the emotional arena where she once had power and into a zone so locked into your purpose, her name doesn't even echo anymore. And when she can no longer reject you, not because you withdrew in bitterness, but because you no longer need anything from her, she starts to feel the shift, not because of what you say, but because of what you no longer do. You're no longer in her inbox. You're no longer watching her stories. You're no longer reacting. You're at the gym pushing through limits. You're at the desk shaping your vision. You're building something powerful from the emotional dust she left behind. And that silence, that detachment, that's what she can't decode. You've become the variable she can't control, the story she can no longer write without you. Because the moment you stop feeding her illusion of control, the moment you remove yourself as a character in her drama, you become the unknown. And the unknown always commands attention, but you won't care, because you're not waiting anymore, not for answers, not for approval, not for closure. You're no longer part of her story. You're writing your own, and the most powerful man in the world isn't the one who reacts. He's the one who refuses to participate in anything that keeps him from his higher self. Number 8, you live like she never existed. There's no greater transformation than the one where her memory becomes nothing more than distant background noise. Not because you erased her, but because you've rebuilt yourself so completely that she no longer fits into the man you've become. And this isn't about pretending she didn't matter. It's about creating a life so full, so disciplined, so aligned with purpose, that she simply becomes irrelevant. The man who lives like she never existed isn't bitter. He's not avoiding the past. He's healed. He's stopped placing his worth in what left and started planting it in what he's building. You'll know you've crossed over when her name no longer stings, when someone brings her up and you feel nothing, when you stop wondering what she's doing or who she's with because you're too consumed with where you're going. This isn't distraction. This is rebirth. The real kind. The kind that happens when you stop fantasizing about what could have been and start executing relentlessly on what's becoming. And if you're wondering how you'll know when it's real, you'll know when your goals keep you up more than her absence, when your routine becomes sacred, when your past relationship feels like someone else's story, when you meet someone new and you're no longer scanning for resemblance, when you finally realize her leaving wasn't a curse. It was a catalyst. That's when your energy shifts, your posture sharpens, your voice deepens, and people start asking, what happened to you? You won't need to answer. The results, the peace, and the direction will speak for you. And you'll look back, not with regret, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the pain that gave you precision, for the betrayal that built your boundaries, for the longing that sharpened your focus, while she wonders if she ever meant anything to you. The truth is, you no longer carry resentment because you no longer carry her at all. Not in your thoughts, not in your energy, not even in your memory. And that level of indifference born not from bitterness, but from deep self-respect. That's what changes the way women look at you forever, because the man who lives like she never existed isn't avoiding the past. He's walking so deep into his purpose, the past can't keep up. And if you've made it this far, it means something. In you is wide awake now, the pain, the confusion, the betrayal, the late nights wondering why your love wasn't enough, the endless silence after pouring out your soul, the hollow feeling watching her move on like you never existed. All of it brought you here, but no one ever gave you the blueprint. No one handed you a roadmap for what to do when your world breaks. Until now. That's why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, the most powerful, practical, and timeless guide ever written for men ready to stop begging, stop bleeding, and start building. This isn't another motivational quote. This is 2,000 plus years of Stoic wisdom condensed into a weapon for modern men. Inside, you'll learn how to rebuild after betrayal, how to break free from emotional manipulation, how to reclaim your focus, how to master your energy, how to rise from the ruins of relationships that nearly destroyed you. And here's the truth. This guide is available now, but not for long. We're capping sales. Why? Because this isn't for everyone. It's for the few, the ones truly ready to transform. Once we hit that cap, it's over. No reopens, no second chances. And if this message hit you hard, like, share, and subscribe. Help spread this truth to millions of other men who are one step, one truth, one blueprint away from changing everything.